We are in Edfu, the city of our guide Peter. The tour will be in the early hours of the morning. The Temple of Edfu is one of the most impressive and best-preserved temples of ancient Egypt. Located on the west bank of the Nile in the city of Edfu, it was dedicated to the falcon-headed god Horus, the divine protector and symbol of kingship. Visiting the temple today feels like stepping directly into the religious world of ancient Egypt. Construction of the temple began during the reign of Ptolemy III Euergetes in 237 BCE and continued for almost 2 centuries until it was completed under Ptolemy XII Auletes around 57 BCE. Although it was built during the Greek-ruled Ptolemaic dynasty, the temple follows the traditional style of the much older pharaonic temples, showing how deeply Egyptian religion and architecture continued even under foreign rulers. The approach to the temple is dominated by a massive pylon gateway nearly 36 meters high. The walls of the pylon are covered with dramatic carvings showing the king striking down enemies before the gods, a symbolic act representing the triumph of order over chaos. Passing through the entrance, visitors enter a large open courtyard surrounded by columns, where priests and worshippers once gathered during festivals. Beyond the courtyard lies a series of increasingly sacred halls leading to the sanctuary, the most holy part of the temple. Here once stood the sacred bark shrine that carried the statue of Horus during religious ceremonies. The walls of the temple are richly decorated with hieroglyphic texts and detailed reliefs describing rituals, offerings, myths, and temple ceremonies. One of the most fascinating parts of the temple is the set of inscriptions describing the legendary battle between Horus and his enemy Seth. These texts tell the story of Horus avenging the death of his father Osiris, a myth that symbolized the eternal struggle between order and disorder. Over the centuries the temple was gradually buried under sand and Nile silt, with houses eventually built on top of it. In the 19th century, the French Egyptologist Auguste Mariette led the excavations that revealed the temple almost completely intact beneath the layers of earth. Because it had been protected for so long, many of its carvings and architectural elements remain remarkably preserved. Today, the Temple of Edfu stands as one of the finest examples of ancient Egyptian temple architecture. Walking through its towering gateways, shadowed halls, and sacred sanctuary allows visitors to experience the grandeur, religious devotion, and artistic mastery of a civilization that flourished more than 2,000 years ago along the Nile. The Esna Lock on the Nile River is an essential gateway for river traffic traveling between Upper and Lower Egypt. Located near the town of Esna, the lock allows cruise ships, cargo vessels, and local boats to pass through a change in water level created by the nearby barrage. Watching a boat pass through the Esna lock is a fascinating experience. Massive gates close behind the vessel, the water level slowly rises or falls, and within minutes the ship continues its journey along the timeless Nile. For travelers cruising the river, it's a unique moment that combines engineering, daily Egyptian life, and the rhythm of one of the world's oldest waterways. Luxor Temple stands in the heart of the ancient city of Luxor, a place where history, architecture, and spirituality come together in one of the most remarkable monuments of ancient Egypt. Unlike many temples that were dedicated to a specific god, Luxor Temple was primarily devoted to the renewal of kingship and the divine nature of the pharaoh. It was a sacred place where the connection between the gods and the ruler of Egypt was celebrated and reaffirmed. The construction of the temple began during the reign of Amenhotep III in the 14th century BCE. Later, it was expanded by powerful rulers such as Tutankhamun, Horemheb, and most famously Ramesses II. Each ruler added statues, reliefs, and monumental structures that reflected both their devotion to the gods and their desire to leave a lasting legacy. The entrance to the temple is marked by a massive pylon built by Ramesses II. In front of it stand colossal statues of the pharaoh and an ancient obelisk. Originally there were two obelisks here, one remains in Luxor while the other was transported in the 19th century to the Place de la Concorde, where it still stands today as a gift from Egypt to France. Beyond the entrance lies a magnificent courtyard surrounded by towering columns and statues. As visitors walk deeper into the temple, they pass through grand colonnades decorated with detailed carvings showing religious ceremonies and royal processions. These reliefs tell stories of divine rituals and celebrations, including the famous Opet festival, when statues of the god Ammonius were carried from the nearby Karnak temple complex to Luxor Temple in a grand ceremonial procession along the Nile. What makes Luxor Temple especially fascinating is that it was never completely abandoned. Over the centuries it continued to be used and transformed by different civilizations. The Romans built a military camp within its walls, and centuries later a mosque known as Abu Haggag Mosque was constructed above part of the ancient structure. This remarkable layering of history shows how the site remained a living place of worship for thousands of years. At night, when the temple is illuminated, the towering columns and statues glow against the dark sky, creating a magical atmosphere. Walking through Luxor Temple after sunset feels like stepping back in time, surrounded by the silent stones that have witnessed more than 3,000 years of history. It is not just a monument of ancient Egypt, but a timeless symbol of the civilization that flourished along the Nile. Hidden within the silent desert hills on the west bank of the Nile River near Luxor lies one of the most extraordinary places in human history, the Valley of the Kings. For more than 500 years during the New Kingdom of ancient Egypt, this secluded valley became the royal necropolis where the pharaohs of the 18th, 19th, and 20th dynasties were laid to rest. Beneath the barren limestone mountains, magnificent tombs were carved deep into the rock, designed to protect the kings and guide them safely through the journey to eternity. The tomb of Ramesses IV, known as KV2, is one of the most accessible and visually striking tombs in the valley. Built during the 20th dynasty, it was designed along a straight axis that leads visitors through corridors filled with vibrant scenes from sacred funerary texts. The walls are decorated with passages from the Book of Gates and the Litany of Ra, guiding the pharaoh through the mysterious journey of the sun god during the night. Despite the passing of more than 3,000 years, many of the colors remain vivid: deep blues, warm reds, and golden yellows that illuminate the chambers. The ceiling is painted with astronomical scenes, reminding us that the king was believed to join the stars and sail with the sun god across the heavens. Deeper in the valley lies the tomb of Merenta, KV8, the burial place of the son and successor of the legendary Ramesses II. His tomb is remarkable not only for its size but also for its architectural complexity. It descends through a series of corridors and chambers that once held a set of 4 massive stone sarcophagi nested one inside another. These enormous coffins symbolized layers of protection for the king in the afterlife. The walls are decorated with texts such as the Book of the Dead, the Book of Gates, and the Amjuet, all describing the perilous journey through the underworld. Not far away lies the tomb of Ramesses IX, one of the best preserved and most accessible tombs in the valley. Its walls are covered with vivid reliefs and paintings that remain strikingly clear after more than 3,000 years. The scenes depict the king's journey through the underworld, guided by divine beings and sacred spells intended to ensure his rebirth with the rising sun. Walking through the Valley of the Kings today is like stepping into a silent archive of ancient beliefs, power, and artistry. Each corridor, each painted wall, and each carved chamber tells the story of a civilization that believed deeply in eternity. The tombs of Ramesses II, Marenta, and Ramesses IX stand as enduring reminders of the ambition of Egypt's rulers and their determination to conquer not only the earth during their lifetimes, but also death itself. On the west bank of the Nile, near the ancient city of Luxor, stands one of the most extraordinary monuments of ancient Egypt, the mortuary temple of Hatshepsut. Built more than 3,400 years ago, this temple was dedicated to the powerful female pharaoh Hatshepsut, one of the few women who ruled Egypt as king. The temple rises in elegant terraces against the dramatic cliffs of Deir el-Bahari. Its design is strikingly symmetrical, with long colonnades, wide ramps, and open courtyards that blend harmoniously with the natural rock wall behind it. Unlike many other Egyptian temples, it feels almost modern in its geometry and balance, which is why it is often considered one of the masterpieces of ancient architecture. Hatshepsut built this temple as her mortuary temple, a place where rituals would be performed to honor her after death and where her divine legacy would be celebrated. The walls are filled with detailed reliefs that tell stories of her reign, including the famous expedition to the mysterious land of Punt. These scenes show ships, exotic animals, incense trees, and foreign chiefs, revealing Egypt's far-reaching trade and diplomacy during her rule. The Karnak Temple complex is one of the most extraordinary ancient religious sites ever built. Located on the east bank of the Nile River in the ancient city of Luxor, Karnak was not built by a single king or during a single period. Instead, it grew over nearly 2,000 years, as generations of pharaohs added temples, halls, pylons, and sacred chapels to honor the gods of ancient Egypt. At the heart of Karnak stands the great temple dedicated to the god Amun-Ra, the king of the gods during the height of the Egyptian empire. Pharaohs believed that by building and enlarging this temple they strengthened their connection with the divine and reinforced their power on earth. One of the most impressive places within Karnak is the famous Great Hypostyle Hall. This immense hall contains 134 massive sandstone columns arranged in rows like a forest of stone. Some of these columns rise over 20 meters high, and their surfaces are covered with beautifully carved hieroglyphs and scenes showing offerings to the gods. Walking through this hall today gives visitors a sense of the grandeur and spiritual atmosphere that ancient priests and worshippers once experienced. The temple complex also includes sacred lakes, obelisks, smaller temples, and long avenues lined with statues of sphinxes that once connected Karnak with the nearby Luxor temple. These avenues were used during great religious festivals such as the Opet festival, when statues of the gods were carried in ceremonial processions between the temples. Many famous pharaohs left their mark on Karnak, including Hatshepsut, who erected towering obelisks, and Ramses II, who added statues and reliefs celebrating his reign. Their monuments stand as lasting symbols of power, devotion, and artistic achievement. Today, Karnak is not only one of the largest temple complexes in the world but also one of the most important archaeological sites on Earth. As visitors walk among its colossal columns, towering pylons, and ancient inscriptions, they are stepping into a place where history, religion, and architecture come together to tell the story of ancient Egypt's greatness. As we contemplate this last temple of our journey, something very important comes to mind and to our hearts that we want to say. When this journey began, we were simply travelers arriving from many corners of the world, from Europe, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. We carried different accents, different stories, and different lives. Yet we all shared one powerful dream, to stand on the ancient land of Egypt and witness its timeless wonders together. Somewhere along the way, our tour guide and friend Peter gave us a name that would come to mean much more than any of us expected. He called us the Blue Shadow Group. At first it was just a name, inspired by the beautiful cruise ship we sailed on the Nile River. But soon it became something greater, a symbol of a small community that formed almost by magic. We explored magnificent places together, the silent temples, the golden sands, and the legendary monuments that have watched over history for thousands of years. We stood in awe before the Great Pyramids of Giza Pyramid Complex, sailed along the eternal waters of the Nile River, and walked through halls where ancient stories are carved in stone. But the true treasure of this trip was not only the monuments. It was the laughter shared during long bus rides, the conversations over dinner, the photos taken under the desert sun, and the quiet moments of wonder when we realized we were living the dream we had imagined for so long. In just a short time, strangers became companions, companions became friends, and our journey became something we will all carry with us for the rest of our lives. The Blue Shadow Group may now return to different continents and different routines, but the memories we created will always travel with us. Whenever we think of Egypt, the warm light over the temples, the breeze along the Nile, the echoes of history, we will also remember each other. So today is not only a farewell. It is a celebration of a dream fulfilled and friendships formed under the same sky. May the spirit of the Blue Shadow Group follow us wherever we go, reminding us that sometimes the most beautiful part of a journey is the people who share it with us. Safe travels, dear friends. And may the road bring us together again someday.